Would everybody want to stand up and take a break? Because I'd like to. Just stand up and relax, maybe take a minute or two, and let's kind of sit back down and relax and wipe off the sweat and say like, whew. God damn, man. It's been a while, hasn't it? Thanks a lot. Maybe grab a little bench now and we can get listened. Have a few things I want to say. I want to try to bear with me. It won't take too long. I'll get done it. A couple of my friends here behind me, the Hall of Famers, told me they'll be banging over my head if I take too long, and I've been drinking water like everyone else too, so we want to get out of here. I want to tell a little story first about a couple of friends that are supposed to be true Yankees and absolutely thrilled that I made the Hall of Fame and said I did them proud, Yogi Berra and Whitey Ford. The Hall of Fame last night. I asked Yogi, I said, Yogi, do you think I could have played for the Yankees when you played? Yogi says, I don't know, Reggie. I was talking to Elston Howard, and he said you might be our fifth outfielder. I asked Whitey if, how do you think I'd have done against you, Whitey? And Whitey says, Reggie, he says, I don't think you'd ever hit me. He said, Ted Williams had a lifetime at 210 off me. He said, but I tell you what, I'd let you get a couple of hits once in a while to make sure you're in the lineup. Jim Palmer going to make sure I tell you that the 2 home runs I hit off him in the playoff game, we did not win. Fran Healy, are you here? Where are you, Fran? Where are you? I guess if you could talk about me, I guess the one thing that I would like to just sum it all up and say that I played with a guy named Mickey Rivers. And if you ever kind of wonder what I'm like or wonder what my problem was, Mickey kind of summed it up one day. He says, Reggie, you got a white man's first name in Reginald, a Spanish middle name in Martinez, and a black man's last name. He said, no wonder you're so fouled up. I want to also take the time and really say to the Hall of Famers, thanks a bunch for coming. Thanks to all the people for coming. It makes us all feel good. When I started to think about my life in baseball, in order to prepare for this day, I realized I owed a lot of people in my life something, both inside and outside the game. Not only for helping me reach the Hall of Fame, but more important for being there in each in his or her own special way. I want to talk about those people, about what they've meant to me. I also want to mention my dreams and for the future of the game and what I think we owe the past. I'll start by acknowledging the most influential person in my life. This is an easy one. Dad, why don't you just wave your hand, please? Martinez Jackson. Okay, no more applause. You're stealing my thunder. I'm in the Hall of Fame, and I'm addressing you today in large part due to the lessons I learned from him. My dad raised me in the 50s and 60s at a time when we were called colored, as were all black people. He struggled with being treated as a second-class citizen, but still did his best to climb the ladder of equality. He had the ability to express himself, to complain and be heard at a time when it wasn't readily accepted. His thoughts and expressions formed and molded me into the person I am today. I can still hear him, all it was an awful long time ago, correcting my English, making sure I didn't slur my words, say uh-huh, nope, yep. Get an education, he'd say. Show some ambition. He also made sure I developed more than the skills of speaking well. He taught me to put the right thoughts behind the right words at the right time. Because of who my dad was and who he helped me to become, I developed a drive with my God-given talents to be someone more than a ball player. He was then a good father. He's become a great friend. I want to take special time now to thank my mom. I guess I'm pretty much the same when it comes to moms. What do you thank your mom for? Just for being there. It seemed like the older I got, the more she became a part of my life. Also, my brother Joe, who was more than a brother. He was important to my upbringing. He's a cool dude, and he's my friend. My life started in baseball with a groundwork that was laid by others. Rachel Robinson is here, and her daughter Sharon, and her nephew. I share this place today here with Jackie. Jackie Robinson opened the door for me and others, before and after me. He was the kind of man that people talk about as a role model. He was the role model I think we all needed, both black and white. He was the right person at the right time. I remember when I first saw Jackie play in Connie Mack Stadium, he hit a line drive home run in right field. He slapped the side of his hip, and old number 42 hit home run number 12 in Connie Mack Stadium, right over Wally Post. It was a little difficult for me at that time because I wanted to root for Duke Snyder and Mickey and a few of the guys like Stan the Man. But in my neighborhood, you had to be quiet about those kind of things. You had to root for the Dodgers. I'd like to take this time to pause and remember Larry Doby. He was the first black player to play in the American League. Before Jackie opened the door, the players in the Negro Leagues knocked on the door. However, we all know what happened. Nobody answered. They were outside and nobody let them in. I don't think we can talk about our success without turning to those players and saying, we're grateful you were there. We thank you. We owe you. I grew up in the 50s and 60s in Wyncote, PA, a small white town. Believe me, it was painful as a teenager growing up. I can say I was lucky my father never saw color. Thanks, Dad. My father always talked about getting an education, so I felt lucky to attend Arizona State on a football scholarship and play football for Arizona State's Frank Kush. I learned toughness from him. Want me to describe it for you? He was as tough as Charlie Finley and George Steinbrenner all rolled into one. On a $5 bet, I went to play for Bobby Winkle's baseball team, and that's where I learned to hustle on every play. I think we'd all like to see more of that. The mid-'60s was a time for a search for identity for a lot of people. At that time, I developed a respect for Muhammad Ali. He gave me and a lot of black people the confidence to speak out, to be proud of who I am. Simultaneously, I learned to listen to Martin Luther King. And from that, I learned that if you spoke with elegance and style, they'd hear you. I knew of the history of the Negro League players from my dad's little talks about Satchel, Josh, and Double Duty Russell, Cool Papa Bell, Jackie and Larry, Willie and Hank, Ernie, Nuke, Campy and Monty. And because of all their struggles, I knew I needed to articulate and not just accommodate. Never really saw myself as a leader. I was struggling too hard to become a ball player and a man. Thankfully, I had some pretty good teachers and role models along the way. I thought Willie Mays was perfection as a player. He showed us how the game should be played, from hitting to running, just walking on the field. I saw in Hank Aaron the qualities of determination, consistency, and character. People talk about superstars. The guy plays for 2 or 3 years, he gets 10 or 15 million. To me, you take a look at the guys behind me, superstar was expressed by Aaron because he personified the idea that greatness is measured over time, not 150 or 300 games. I'll never forget his determination in chasing the ghost of Ruth. How do you play the game? From watching Gibson. He showed me the competitiveness just the way he took the mound. I developed my approach to playing from watching him. Professional baseball to me, and I think to everybody when you say the word professional, is winning. And yes, just like everybody else, with my little radio plug in my ear, in math class in the 5th grade, as Mickey Mantle hit 18 series homers and won the series after series, I listened and learned from that. I think he was the original Mr. October, but thank God it didn't stick. If the game is lost to the economics would drive it, then we'll lose the humanity that is uniquely the game. We all must feel it and live it in our own way and be mindful of its vulnerability to abuse. From the millions to the billions that this game has come to represent, while we all take from this cherished game, stop and remember Buck O'Neill and the Scooter and all the people who played for the love of the game. You may be worth what you get. You may be worth it, but say thanks and remember the people who paved the way for you. Thanks, Rachel. Let us not exploit the game to the point that future generations won't be able to afford the bill that they'll get to keep it going. So you guys behind the mics, Vince Scully, Chris Berman, Al Michaels, and Dan Patrick, and you guys with the pens, Dave Anderson, Leonard Kopic, Mike Lupica, Jim Murray, and Steve Jacobson, let's take the time to bring back a focus so that the people will think of the game as the sport it once was. It's needed now. I've come full circle. I'm back with the Yankees, for whom I have a great deal of gratitude. Because they, along with the Upper Deck Company, have the vision that I could bring to their front office and boardrooms more than my status as a celebrity. Have given me the recognition that I'm able to bring to the party a wealth of knowledge about the game and the judgment that's needed to maintain the trust that baseball has put in all of us. Whether it's being involved on the field or in the boardroom, with a team or with a baseball company, I'm being recognized for what I can give by people who look past my mirror image, beyond the accolades, to what I have to offer. I think I'll now thank the guy who really makes it all happen. Thank you, Lord, for the gifts you've given me. Friends, in the words of Lou Gehrig, today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. I've had a dream, and I was able to live it. And thank God it's not done yet. Thank you. I'm a real baseball fan, and I appreciate being here.